But let's take another trip across to the United States of America. We're going to talk to Jerry Edling, editor for KNX News Radio in Los Angeles. Just before we do that, let us have a look at what's been going on actually on the ground. Here's an LA News reporter on the state of the traffic.
LAPD, about 4 different cars just pulled up about 5 minutes ago to try to alleviate some of this gridlock coming down from the Hollywood Hills and from Runyon Canyon out into La Brea and on Franklin over to Highland, because the issue is right now, as people are evacuating, there's not enough room for all these cars to go. You see it behind me going up the street here. That's why we got a couple police officers really just trying to direct traffic to get them to come down the street.
And we heard Steve Guttenberg earlier on, the actor, saying that, you know, people need to stop parking their cars on streets and leaving them without the key. Has been speaking on the news. You just heard it before, saying that her hearts are breaking, their hearts are breaking, we're standing with you and all of that. She's taken a lot of criticism, though, because she wasn't even in Los Angeles when all these fires started. She came back and gave a press conference. And have a look at this for somebody who doesn't quite seem to understand the annoyance and the rage that people are feeling.
Do you owe citizens an apology for being absent while their homes were burning? Do you regret cutting the fire department budget by millions of dollars, Madam Mayor? Have you nothing to say today? Have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today? Elon Musk says that you're utterly incompetent. Are you considering your position? Madam Mayor, have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today who are dealing with this disaster? No apology for them? Do you think you should have been visiting Ghana while this was unfolding back home?
Just extraordinary, isn't it? I mean, we see some politicians doing some weird stuff in this country, but to stand there in the face of one of the biggest disasters that Los Angeles has ever seen and to have nothing to say to a reporter asking legitimate questions, quite remarkable. Let's talk to Jerry Edling, see what he makes of it all. Jerry, very good morning to you.
Thank you for having me.
Not at all. That's quite an extraordinary piece of a film that we just watched there. Karen Bass, the LA mayor, just having no words, really, and no response to questions which seem to be legitimate about what it is that the city's been doing and the state of the of play there.
Yeah. It's difficult to see at this point what's going to happen after the fires are over. I imagine there will be a lot of calls for accountability, and it's the worst possible optics. I hate to use that term, but the worst possible optics for Karen Bass to be located like 6,000 miles away when this ultimate catastrophe is breaking loose in Los Angeles and throughout Los Angeles County. There are currently 7 fires burning and tens of thousands of acres. So right now, of course, the focus is on getting the fire tamped down, and they won't be able to do that probably until some of the low pressure systems and moisture wash in from the ocean, and that's not supposed to happen for a couple of days.
Right. I was going to say, it doesn't look as though the fires are anywhere near going out, and if in fact, if anything, they're increasing in number, aren't they? Because we've seen a report as well earlier this morning from someone in the Hollywood Hills where a fire literally just started a few hours ago.
Yeah. It's been, well, the Santa Ana winds, which have been fueling this fire, have been relentless. I mean, I walked outside and I almost got toppled over a railing because it was a hurricane force gust.
Right.
And and so the terrain around here is mostly brush, very few trees, but a lot of brush on the hillsides. And when they get dry, it's just and you get a day like this, it would be extraordinary if there weren't a fire. But this, of course, is an extraordinary fire, and nothing like this has ever been seen in LA County.
No. And while obviously there are fires that take place on an annual basis, we often see them in Malibu, we often see them in other parts of the northern areas around Los Angeles. I mean, seemingly this time there's a lot of blame being placed at the feet of both local and sort of statewide officials, isn't there? They're saying that there wasn't enough water in the hydrants, that there wasn't enough money in the budget, the firefighting budgets were cut, that basically FEMA doesn't seem to have any money. I think Donald Trump's put a tweet out saying, you know, thanks to Joe Biden, basically I'm being left with a FEMA with absolutely nothing in it.
Well, Mr. Trump has been an ongoing critic of California's forestry system because, of course, he's been attacked as an opponent of global warming, or at least because of that, he's fought back by saying, well, California isn't managing its forestry well, and that's the cause, not anything that's a global event.
Quite right. And one of the problems as well that I suppose you would have there is that once these fires take hold and once the winds are whipping them from one side of the hill to the other, there's not very much anybody can really do. I mean, what's it like where you are? I mean, can you see the fires? Can you smell them? Is the rest of the city kind of in a pall of smoke, if you like?
Yeah, pretty much smoke all over. There was a giant plume of smoke the day it broke out, and I remember standing on the balcony and looking at that, and I couldn't see the flames, but I could see this very dark smoke drifting out to sea, and it was very formidable. And people here are not only fearful, but I mean fearful and more, because nothing like this has ever happened before, and they really don't know how to deal with it, even though on one level, I mean, California is just a cauldron for this type of fire, and we're all familiar with it. But this time it's really hit home because it's burning through a major metropolitan area, and that's unusual.
Yeah, and according to information I've got, Billy Crystal, Anthony Hopkins, John Goodman have already lost their homes. James Woods looks like he may have lost his home. He was saying as well on a tweet that I saw yesterday that insurance companies up to 4 months ago had already kind of pulled the insurance on a lot of these properties.
Yeah, that's true. And they managed to get that through and pass the California Insurance Commissioner. And the insurance companies just said, look, we're facing a crisis of our own financially, and we can't do it. And they showed the figures, and even liberal California was able to assent to that. Sent to their.
So what do these people do if they haven't got insurance and they have no home?
Yeah, that's well. Sometimes they get aid from FEMA, but sometimes not.
But FEMA doesn't have that kind of money, does it? I mean, they can't help out everybody. Right.
That's true. That's true. So some of them have insurance that's been grandfathered, and I think if you already have a policy, you're pretty much set. But to get a new policy is very difficult at this point. And earthquake insurance is going in kind of the same direction.
Right. So it's starting to look like a pretty unfriendly place to live with the fires and the earthquakes and have no insurance. I mean, it's going to be a pretty difficult place to have a growing economy, isn't it? Because we're also hearing, I think, that the Oscar ceremonies are being postponed by the looks of things.
Well, if you look at the kind of the topography of Pacific Palisades and Malibu, they adjoin each other. And of course, both are very affluent areas and both have celebrity homes and that. But there's a little bit of a difference because Pacific Palisades has a lot of trees, and the fire has jumped from tree to tree. It actually jumped over a freeway. But Malibu has a lot of low brush, and it's really almost like living on kindling. Yeah. And I expect before this is all over, the fire is going to go way west, deeply into Malibu, which is exactly what the folks in Malibu don't need, because they had a fire 2 or 3 years ago, the Woolsey fire, that pretty much destroyed. I mean, people are still talking about it and still recovering from it in terms of reconstruction.
Yes. Yeah, I remember that. It's an awful situation. Well, listen, hopefully the fires will be extinguished sooner rather than later, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen anytime soon. That, of course, is Jerry Edling, editor for KNX News Radio in Los Angeles. Good to talk to you.